Good evening, South Africa. Welcome back to Mzansi Brief. We are digging into the rot that even the highest generals can't hide. Is the South African Police Service a law enforcement agency or a playground for institutional bullying and racial profiling? On March 11th, the ad hoc committee exploded as former Deputy Commissioner Francina Vuma pulled back the curtain on a 3.5-year nightmare. She describes a military-style raid on her own office, led not by criminals, but by National Commissioner Fanny Masemola himself. Documents seized, a career frozen, and not a single disciplinary hearing in sight. Honourable Dereleen James didn't hold back, demanding to know if there is a calculated agenda to crush high-ranking black female officers who dare to blow the whistle. Is the old guard protecting their own while professional whistleblowers are treated like fugitives? We're asking the hard questions. Is this a quest for justice, or a systematic execution of careers based on bias and blood money? You're watching Mzansi Brief, where we don't just report the news, we expose the agenda.
I'm not going to be long. Many of my questions have been covered, Chair. General, thank you so much for being with us today. I want to start by asking you, you made a loaded statement earlier on, and you said pertaining to Robert McBride, and I'm not sure if this includes Paul O'Sullivan, that cabal, and you said they were targeting blacks in SAPS. Please elaborate on that statement.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. And as I was explaining that, I was relating it as it was said to us by the late Mandla Mahlangu. If I may also elaborate, part of the things that he said, remember as he said, he told us that from the politics, it was seen that by the colored community that it will be impossible for them to have a president. Now, the best thing that they needed to do was to capture the criminal justice system so that they are in control. This is what was related to us by Mandla Mahlangu. Hence, we took him to the farm so that these matters, because they were a serious security threat to the country. It's information that we received from Mahlangu. It was never from me.
And he was working with Robert McBride.
He was the lead investigator. If you listen carefully, when McBride was a sort of rubbishing Ngabinde, because who is this? Mahlangu was working together with Ngabinde as the main investigators of those things that they were doing there with O'Sullivan. Hence, they say they have realized that the target that we are targeting are our brothers. That's what the Mahlangu said.
Because I posed this question to Mr. Paul O'Sullivan based on my own analysis, and that is why what I found exactly what you have come and confirmed here today from inside that cabal, that it was actually said. Thank you, General. One of the most revealing aspects of the testimony from many SAPS witnesses, including yourself, is the apparent culture of fear within senior management of SAPS. The impression created is that it goes beyond ordinary respect for authority, and that there's a real sense that even respectfully disagreeing with a superior could be a death sentence or even place one's personal safety at risk, and you've given us examples. Is that a fair characterization of the environment within SAPS from your experience? Because years back we had Life Esidimeni, and I could see the same narrative playing out in SAPS where lives were lost, people knew the truth, and they didn't speak out. I see the same happening within SAPS. Am I correct with characterizing it like this?
You are correct, Honorable Member. Part of the issues that are happening within SAPS is if they see certain people who are relating well You know, when you work with people, you end up creating relations with certain people that are regarded as being stubborn or not being able to be used. They target even those people. For example, there was a Major General who was at Legal Services. Legal Services was, to a certain extent, not all of them, of course, captured through this particular channeling, because all these documents for my disciplinary matters were being prepared today. There was a Major General who was very vocal and strict, Major General Groenewald at Legal Services. When he was telling them, but these things has to stop, these things that you are doing, hey, they are not right. She was threatened also with disciplinary measures, and she ended up jumping in the ship and resigning in order to save herself. So this is how we have become in the police.
General, would it then be fair to say that this sort of, I was looking for, this fear of God culture may help explain why senior officers who can clearly see that something is wrong choose not to act and instead go along with decisions and instructions they know to be problematic?
I definitely believe that if you fear God, you will not proceed with those things. Your conscience will work for you, and the word of God will also work with you that don't treat other people or don't do these things because these things are wrong. That is why I was explaining to an honorable member there that we have lost touch with our creation, with our reality, with our basic, what makes us as human beings.
In your opinion and in your experience, what can we do to end this culture? Because it is clearly deeply, deeply rooted and at the center of everything that is unfolding.
Yeah, in my opinion, there's a really need of conducting a self-introspection in that particular organization. And I think the people that are there really themselves need to conduct a self-introspection and ask themselves certain questions. But I think the parliament can also come up with certain reforms, because many a times we like to, when we see a problem, we believe that a problem required a document or a policy or a guidelines. While the policies are there and they are doing what they are supposed to do, the problem is us as human beings who are breaking these policies, who are applying it wrongly, who are doing it in order to achieve our own evil desires, whatever they are. So there is a need for a serious reform. Hence, I even propose that maybe there must also be a board where the superiors that be are reported, for them to know that they are not a law unto themselves. Because the challenge is once the head is complacent with these type of situations, everybody will follow suit. And it is even easier to correct the situations in SAPS, if I may, because you just need to send a message with 1 or 2 in the corrective measures. And once the head is right, everything will fall into place.
We just need to make an example
Yes.
of 1 or 2 members.
But it should be coming from above.
Like maybe General Sipia, someone like that.
It should be coming from the person who's leading the organization. And he also must know that he cannot do as he pleases. He must know that he's got a board that is also watching how he performs.
So you say the establishment of a board is needed within SAPS. We take note of that recommendation. Thank you. General, with regards now, some more questions. NASREC security procurement, I want to speak on that. During the 2017 ANC NASREC conference, what role did you personally play in approving or overseeing procurement-related security measures for that event?
My role during that event, I wasn't approving anything. When the planning of the event started, I was still the support services for the division protection and security services. So my role there was to provide them with all the necessary support that's required in terms of human resource, accommodation, arranging all the accommodation, transportation, and everything for people who are going to be deployed there. And also in the meetings, that was my role. So I was continuing with that during the Nasar conference, and I ended just before the conference started.
Okay. Who was the accounting officer or project lead responsible for the security procurement linked to the conference? And where did your role fit in with the decision-making structure?
As I said earlier on, that the issue of that particular matter was a matter that started earlier in the year from crime intelligence. It was crime intelligence who was responsible for their own procurement of the tools of trade. Now, because of that threat that was presented to the National Commissioner had to task the DNC, who was responsible for crime detection, including crime intelligence, to make sure that they have the necessary equipment to be able to neutralize that particular threat. So it was their own responsibility. My role only was very minimal based on National Commissioner calling me to that after the meeting they had to brief, to bring General Ngobo and Tsumane, and for him to brief them of what were the threat that was presented. Even when you look, because I remember when there was a footage of that meeting, which was published in the media, and there was even the scribe. That scribe was my handwriting. It was talking about the briefing that we received from National Commission about intelligent threat. There was nothing about buying grappers, etc., etc.
And sorry, just to interject there, and you said that, I just heard you saying that crime intelligence was responsible also for securing the tools of trade, and they were using that crime intelligence fund.
Obviously, they were going
You
to
said earlier on, because that fund is specifically allocated, the monies from that fund specifically for operations, for crime intelligence operations.
It was going to be those tools of trade that they intended to purchase before was part of, they had the capacity or the ability to be able to neutralize that type of a threat that was identified during the conference.
But I'm asking, was that slush fund, was that the fund meant to pay for tools of trade?
Yes, for
Because the
intelligence.
slush fund, as far as we've been told by previous witnesses, that is for crime intelligence operations, like for your source, for information, that it is only for that. So how do you use this fund for tools of trade? How will you account? Because there's secrecy around that fund.
They use it even to buy tools of trade that when they utilize them for operating underground. Hence the grapper. The grapper is part of the tools that they use when they do their crime intelligence operation.
But is that allowed?
I think it is allowed because here is the one that was purchased by General Jacobs. It was purchased on the Secret Service funds, the one that I just highlighted of 120 million, and there was never any query, and there was even some audits on it.
Because we'll never be able to track the monies. We'll never be able to track anything bought from that fund because that is a secret service fund. So I don't see why, I don't understand why it's allowed. But anyway, that is for us as the committee to do more research and to probe that.
Maybe I may not have the details of the deep utilization, hence there was even this query for them using that money to buy PPEs while we were buying PPEs for them in the open account.
Sure. Okay. Political involvement. I want to hone in on that. Given that Nasrec was a political party conference rather than a state event, were there any communications, requests, or instructions from political office bearers or government executives regarding the security arrangements? What genuine security concerns were present?
Normally, when there are even political parties, big conferences that are going to happen in a particular province where there are those committees that are formed even at a cluster or station level in order to ensure that whatever conference that is going to take place is free from any incidents. So that event is regarded as a major event, and there is a policy and guidelines in terms of major event because the presidents and ministers, members of the cabinet will be in attendance. So it becomes critical for the police to secure such an event.
So you say there's an over and beyond approach when it comes to that event specifically?
Not only that one, and many others. I can even maybe believe that even with other parties, when they have to do them in any venue where they can make a
No.
determination, there is an assessment of the risk of that event that is conducted. And based on that assessment, the local precinct where the event is going to be hosted come up with a plan to ensure that they police that particular event.
So there's no additional pressure for additional resources, special favors coming in?
No, no.
There's a genuine threat.
It is a genuine thing. I became involved when I was there at the PSS, even with World Economic Forums. There are certain events that are categorized as major events.
We've heard from multiple witness testimonies that these events enjoyed larger than normal major event deployments, with the full top brass of SAPS having been at the January 8th celebrations, as well as larger than normal, I've said this, deployment at the ANC conferences. Now, you know, this grates me because only today we see SANDF arrive in our communities, but you have these annual political elite events enjoying such a grand security deployment. You've said the fact what justifies this. I've actually gone ahead of my questions. The fact that you have the president there, the fact that you have the ministers there, that justifies the additional deployment. And it is not like all other political conferences, General, I must just add in. I don't think any other political conference sees as huge a deployment as the January 8th, truth be told.
I haven't attended the January 8th, and I don't know what happens there. Maybe this fora, as the parliamentarians, can look into how those major events where political parties are not treated equally and find a way to address it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
At any point during this process, did you or anyone in SAPS experience pressure, guidance, or expectations from political actors about how security or procurement decisions would be handled?
Not in the event.
They don't tell you who to use.
It has
You
not.
don't get those letters, use this one for procurement for this from any of the political office bearers?
No, during my involvement, I never experienced such. And I must say that when I was at PSS, I was solely responsible for ensuring that what are the things that must be done against the relevant directives. I ensured that.
Documentation and IPID, right? The Pretoria High Court found that certain SAPS officials failed to hand over information to IPID regarding these matters. Okay. Can you explain why the relevant procurement documentation was not provided to IPID when it was requested?
In regard to this CREPA matter, it is because there were no documents compiled. As I said earlier on, the very first day of the 13th, when NASCOM attended the meeting and briefed us, and we went to brief General Tsumane to brief crime intelligence officials. It is on the very same day Mr. Sisoko called General Tsumane, and the National Commissioner instructed that the process must be stopped immediately. As I said, that when I left crime intelligence together with General Tsumane, no documents were produced. There was nothing. It was just a meeting. We left them in a meeting. If there were documents, it was the documents that they might have compiled them on their own crime intelligence together, maybe, or before or after, I don't know. But on that involvement where it was General Tsumane, myself, and Ngobo and the National Commission, there was no document whatsoever. And this was explained.
Shocking. Responsibility for the non-disclosure. Did you personally make the decision not to provide those documents, or were they instructions given by someone else within SAPS leadership? But
I don't have the authority, even as the Deputy National Commissioner, to provide document to any outside institution except within SAPS. Only the National Commissioner can grant that authority.
Thank you. One more question. The raid on your office, in your affidavit, you state that General Fani Masemola and a team removed documents from your office shortly after your suspension, right? What types of documents were taken, and did they include records related to procurement or matters currently before this committee? Anything that was taken, that was said at this committee that can help us with our findings?
They took all the documents that I was utilizing at the time, files, anything. I cannot even remember or be specific whether such document that we have here were also taken, but I was able, as I was preparing for this meeting, to request for certain information within SAPS. Hence, I have some of the information that is not signed.
So there was nothing specific there that you can say can tie to some of the evidence that the witnesses has given us that
I
can
cannot-
support?
No, I cannot remember. The only joke I can remember was that my PA said, they said anything as long as there is an ink on it, you must take it.
Okay. Thank you so much, General.
Thank
you,
you.
Chair.
Thank you.